Welcome to the AskBYS Podcast, a monthly podcast brought to you by Bainbridge Youth Services and its supporting sponsors. AskBYS Podcast connects parents to professionals that can provide support, education, and resources on a particular topic in parenting. The speaker's words and opinions are their own and do not represent the policies or opinions of BYS. I am your host, Jessica Crook, and am here with Milagro Castilleja as our producer. We are recording live at the Media Arts Studio at Barn, the Bainbridge Artisan Resource Network, and we greatly appreciate this incredible space. Today, we will take a different approach to our typical podcasting format. In January, we began featuring questions submitted by youth and parents on our monthly newsletter and in the local papers. These questions are all anonymous and submitted to info@askbys.org. Fun fact, BYS's website was originally set up to be a Q&A hub, hence askbys.org. I am the Communications and Development Manager on day-to-day at BYS, but today I'm here now to highlight some of the community's questions with one of our wonderful BYS therapists, Megan Lee Anderson.
I'm so happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
Yeah, I want to just also introduce myself as a member of the community and as a mother, and just say that although we're going to be having this conversation and I'll have my therapist lens, I hope this can be a conversation where I also get to wear those other hats too and talk through some of the things.
Absolutely.
Because we really love to hear from people. We really love to get the questions from the community.
Absolutely. And the community can continue to submit questions to us. So they can submit questions through our website or at info@askbys.org or message us on any of our social media platforms, and they will always be anonymous.
I mean, and we're not just saying this. As a therapist, it's really nice when people engage with some of the posts or have questions about it. So we definitely welcome that. And I also want to say, too, that as we're talking through some of these things, people might be listening and have a very different opinion. So we can also be reached through those avenues as well. If people have if they have a different take, let us know.
Absolutely. And again, it will always be anonymous, and your questions will be responded to by a therapist.
Yeah.
So free advice.
Yeah.
So to begin, I am going to start with a question submitted by a youth.
Okay.
However, I'm very curious your response because I would love to know your take on this as well for myself. So the question one is, I sometimes say yes to things just to avoid disappointing people, even when I don't want to. How can I learn to say no in a way that feels strong but not mean?
Right?
I know.
I think this is such an incredible question. And to think that it's from a youth, because this is applicable to me. I mean, I feel like on a day-to-day basis, we're, as parents, too, fielding all kinds of requests on our time and our energy and all the things, right? So I just want to normalize that. I think that's probably the first thing that comes to my mind. It's just normalizing the fact that no is a small word, but it can often feel really hard to use appropriately. I would imagine you feel the same way, right?
Every day.
Yeah, it's a really good skill to have. So let's break it down a little bit. I think the first thing I like to think about is finding our yeses. And I like to think about this from a therapeutic perspective as thinking through what our values are, right? And we can do this as teens or as parents. It's something you can do in therapy, but it's also something that you can very easily think about and go through on your own. There are all kinds of resources online to help you do this, but thinking through what your values are going to help you have some guidelines of what you want to say yes to and what you want to say no to. When when you know what direction you're going, it's a lot easier to navigate the car, right? Let's see. I think the other thing that comes to mind is that we're just hardwired as humans. I always want to say yes if a friend asks me to go do something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other relevant things that have been in my life recently where somebody's asked me something and it's hard to say no because I do want to go and I don't want to disappoint anybody. Have you had those?
Absolutely. Or whenever someone asks for help and you just maybe aren't in the headspace or have the capacity to offer that help, even though you want to.
Totally.
So definitely have been there.
Again, we are hardwired as humans, right? We want to stay connected and to feel connected with somebody. We don't want to have to say no if they ask us for help. But one of the things I like to think about when we're saying no, or if we are in a position where like, this does not align with my time or my values, or I don't have the capacity right now, how can we say a warm no? And one of the ways I like to do that is to say, I don't versus I can't. And let's think of like something that we could use as an example. Well, if it's a situation where a youth is like in finals week or something and they have a ton of practices going on and somebody asks them to do like this extra thing, you could say, I don't go out during the week of finals week past 9 o'clock or whatever, instead of saying, I can't do that. And what it does is it invokes this identity within you of saying no from a place of your values. And what research shows is that actually people are a lot less likely to push you on it. They're not going to like follow up with 6 or 7 more questions. I don't know about you, but if a friend said that to me or phrased something in a way like that, you respect it.
Right. And I think I would feel more comfortable saying I don't rather than no. Mm-hmm. I think it's an easier way to say that that's just not going to happen for you right now.
Yeah, but it feels much more empowered to me to say it from that perspective. And I'm just trying to think if there's anything else we could add to this question, because it is a really rich one. I mean, there are a lot of things in there that are things that we just experience throughout the lifespan, right? Not wanting to disappoint people, wanting to know how to feel good about the decisions that we're making. I don't know. Anything else you can think of from being a parent?
Being a parent, I think being able to say that, we don't do things on a Sunday because that's time to spend with the family, rather than, okay, how can I fit in one more social thing or time-consuming event whenever you kind of just need to decompress, even if there's nothing planned.
And as a friend, I find that if somebody says it like that to me, I'm like, oh, I get that. And I really respect it. And you can understand where they're coming from. And the other thing that I think you're really good at, and is another piece of this, is like how you deliver that message. Because it's not just saying I don't, or it's not just the words that you're using, it's how you're saying it to somebody. And this might sound really basic, but, leaning into somebody like you just did, or smiling at somebody when you are in person and telling them, I'm not going to be able to do that. That conveys this like sense of warmth where the other person can feel that, and you're not being cold in your no.
Those are great suggestions, especially I think for youth too, navigating like needing that other way to affirm their no.
Yeah.
Being able to use body language too.
Now, it's not as easy over text.
No, it's definitely not.
But some of those things can still be, conveyed. I think that's the gist of it, right? It's not just what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. It's kind of using verbiage that feels empowering, and it's the idea that when you know what's important to you, you're going to be able to make decisions based on that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I hope that helps, whoever.
Absolutely. I hope so too. The second question is from a parent or caregiver, and they say that my teen used to love hugs and snuggles, but now they pull away. Should I stop showing physical affection, or how do they still need it?
I mean, man, I love this question. I just think about my own kids. So one of the fun things at BYS is that we're so close to the high school and the aquatic center, and we are such a part of the community, and we see people coming in and out all the time. And for me, having younger kids and then seeing some of these older kids, I just can't get over like how quickly they grew since the last time I saw them. And I think about this parent, and how even when I see those big kids, I still see like the little kid in them. And I imagine that as my kids get older, I'm still going to want to like show them that affection because I'm going to see the little ones. The long and the short of this is that like the research shows, yeah, they still need our affection. It's maybe going to evolve the way that we show it, but it's, we don't want to stop doing that.
Right. So as a parent, what would be, you have an angsty teen
right.
and they're no longer, wanting you to love on them and kiss on them as, you know, my 6-year-old allows.
Right.
So what would be some great ways to still show that affection, to still show that you are the foundation, the rock that they can always go to and that you love them unconditionally, but also not annoy them.
And what's so funny is you never know when that time is going to come, right?
It's very true.
Like I never know if it's going to be the last time that that they're going to let me do that in public. So this is like a great thing to think about, even if you do have younger kids, right? First of all, it's totally normal that they're going to do this, that they are going to pull away and things are going to change. Again, research is still showing that even though they do pull away, appropriate kind of affection is still vitally important because study after study shows that parental warmth, and that includes kind of that physical affection that is a piece of it, is it correlates really highly with self-esteem and lower anxiety rates in teens. So I don't know. Let's think about what that could look like. I guess before we think about as parents, we should probably think about what our kids want too, and it's going to look so different.
Yes.
I was about to give some examples, but I feel like that's an important caveat, right?
Right. And I guess they have to lead, and it depends, parent and child dependent, right? Every child's different. Like I think one of mine would love like to just have like a touch on the shoulder, and the other one would maybe the words of affirmation will probably be, I'll have to increase that.
Yep.
And just know that that's a little bit more than the physical touch for that one. But I would think maybe, secret
same
handshake
family, different
or,
kids.
I don't know. It's so hard.
So, I love that one. Actually, in our family, my husband and his dad have always had like a handshake. They're not the most like affectionate. I hope they don't mind me saying this. I'm sure they don't. But I remember at our wedding, there are pictures of the two of them doing this secret handshake. And I don't know how many hugs he had that day from his dad, but like that was the affection, right?
Yes.
Like, so creating your own ritual can be a great way to do that. And I think it's going to be different with each kid, so you can kind of like tailor it to them. I liked some of your suggestions, like maybe the hand on the shoulder. But I also think about maybe making their favorite snack or leaving them a note on the bathroom mirror or something. Those are some great ways. Or I think about what are some of the built-in ways? Like if you're in the car and your kid's getting older, you are shoulder to shoulder essentially as you're driving. Sitting and watching movies at your house, maybe there's always a place that kid wants to sit and a place where you sit. And so it's not so much that you're encroaching on their space. It's more like, it's just something that you guys have done.
Right. There's a
family.
Consistency.
Yeah. I imagine that would be really helpful because it can feel hard when all of a sudden, like the rug is pulled out underneath you and one day you're not able to do the same thing that you were doing the whole time, but you still want to convey it.
And they still need it, just in a different way, right?
Yep. I guess the key takeaway, right, is your affection it needs to evolve, not disappear. So it's gonna change maybe a little bit. And I think some kids are going to be really articulate. I can imagine some being very specific about what they want and what they don't want. So having conversations can be good. That's certainly opening it up for them to tell you. And some kids, some kids are just never going to want that. And that's okay too. Right? Like, you're going to find other ways. So hopefully we've given some good kind of like examples. Anything else we should add? Any other ideas that popped into your mind as we were talking?
Maybe it turns more into quality time together, to really making time, carving out that time for that one child, if there's more than one in the household, but doing something that really connects on their level, even if it's something that you can't wrap your head around, like something that they're interested in, and just kind of dive in a little bit just to see if
it's showing that you care.
Without pushing.
And this question is so nice because I think what's inherent in the question is that this parent is already like really wanting to show that. And if you're thinking about this stuff in advance, you're just, you're going to be ready. Yeah.
The third question is, again, from a parent or caregiver.
Okay.
And they ask, what strategies can I use to help my child develop better emotional regulation and coping skills? This is an excellent question.
This is just something I think about all the time.
Yes. Just this morning.
Every morning, every bedtime, all the things. Okay, good question. I mean, I know this is maybe like redundant, but the first thing I think of too is like, as a caregiver, how are we modeling emotional regulation? We can give them tools, but one of the best tools is modeling it ourselves. And I think that is not easy to do. Again, I'm a therapist, but I'm also a parent and in it.
And a human.
And a human. And that's really hard to do. And I guess what I like to go back to is just that with intention, right? And like giving it some time yourself to think about how can I work on my own emotional regulation. That's something that is really great to work on in therapy as a parent, and know that it makes a huge impact. So the question was really about the child having emotional regulation, but know that as a parent, if you work on your own, that's also helping the unit of the family. And you're probably looking at me like, okay, great. Like another thing on my plate.
Another thing to work on myself for. Yes.
But that's why we're here, right? And that's why BYS has the different things that we do. We have parent counseling. We have parenting together groups. We know that this is hard, and there are ways to work on it. But the other thing that I think about too is that going back to how every family is different, like I like how we just brainstormed some ideas around like showing physical affection, but I think in this case too, this is also a great brainstorming one, because I don't know, every family is going to look completely different, but I like to think about being proactive and coming up with language for your own family to check in with each other. So maybe it's not being like, how do you feel today? Right. Because not everybody's going to want to answer that all the time. But if you make it fun, and if you make it something like, what's the weather forecast? Like,
that's
like,
great.
What is it?
Yes.
What's it looking like today? I don't know. I come from a very I am not a weather person, but I have learned a lot about weather from the people in my family. So I like to use that as an analogy. Like, for example, what's the wind? Like, what's the temperature today? Could be a good one. Or what's the chance of rain? Right. Or the wind speed. So I do think having some of these things, and even like putting them on your refrigerator as a way for like, it's just there, and as a point of topic and conversation. You're not going to just dive into a tactic for emotional regulation once and have it be done. We're going to come back to it time and time again. I think I told you about this. We were talking about fridge magnets.
Yes.
And I have that one on my fridge that has all the emotions on it, and then you can like move around the little piece. And I'll tell you what, I've had that on my fridge for years. And even as the kids have gotten older, they not only use it, but like friends that come over and that are grabbing snacks come over. And even as they've gotten older, they still use it. And I really know when I need to check in when the angry face is circled with like a permanent marker. So nobody needed to say anything, yes. Right? But like there's just something that's built in for emotional regulation. I hope that's answering the question.
It does. Do you think you could add a link to some of these tools?
Yes. Yeah. I love that idea. I think we could include a link to a PDF where people could print off and have it at home. You could actually sit down with your kid and fill it out. You could put it on your fridge. I'd love to be able to share that with people. It's something that sometimes we use like in the therapy room, but it's easy for people to use at home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for people to know that some weeks are just harder than others.
Yes. Exactly. And it's a practice. It's not going to be perfect. It's something you're going to come back to.
Yes.
Time and again.
So our last question is from a youth, but does apply to adults as well. How do I know if what I'm feeling is serious enough to talk to someone about? It's a great question.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're asking the question, the answer is probably yes. I don't know about you, but there are a lot of preconceived notions about what therapy is, right? And it doesn't need to be like I guess what I would want this person to know is that it doesn't need to come to a crisis point, right, for you to be reaching out and having someone to talk to, because therapy is just really a way for you to have a non-judgmental space to help navigate through lots of different things. Not every week is going to be the same. And as a therapist, I get just as excited and love when people are coming in and talking about some of their wins. So if there are things that feel heavy or that you feel in a place where you're trying to navigate something, it's a tool for you. It's a tool for you to have, and it's, we're here for that. I think as a parent too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just, how do we know if it's serious enough? I guess I would ask, not is it serious enough, but if there is something weighing on you, or if you're noticing more days than not over the last week or two, you're still kind of thinking through this thing, or if it's still poking at you, then it's a great time to get somebody else on board to talk through it.
Absolutely. And BYS is here for that.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it with the last question too, but this, if this was a teen that was asking this question, I think they know that they can come in and we have some incredible therapists, and a lot of those therapists also will see parents. So we have that as a resource as well. And a couple of times a year we run these parenting together groups. And those give you some incredible tools about just this kind of thing. I think being in community with people really helps if you have something that you're trying to navigate. Did I miss any of the stuff that we do that would be helpful for people to know about?
Well, I think the fact that youth can just come in at any time during the day, even if they just want a one-time,
right.
They just need to come in and decompress, or take a minute to, they walk to BYS from the schools and they can grab a snack.
Yes.
They can, make a hot chocolate, make some tea, go sit in a quiet room, go do some homework before the next class. If they just need to, if life is feeling a little heavy and they just need to get out of that day-to-day setting that they're in, they're welcome to come to BYS and just take a load off for a little while and make an appointment or not make an appointment.
Yeah.
We're just here in that capacity.
That's such a good point. And we have good snacks.
We have really good snacks. Thanks to all of our snack donations.
I know, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point. And also through all of our social media channels, right? Again,
yes.
I just think it's Another way, I think we want to be out there so that people know where to find us and ask these kinds of questions. So let's say you were thinking, like, I don't know if it's serious enough to talk to somebody, but you saw something on our social media and you had a question about it, you can DM us.
Right.
And somebody will respond to you.
Right. Our therapist, Emily Henning, last month submitted into the newsletter, the monthly newsletter, a question that a youth had written in, wondering, is this what I'm feeling, depression, or is this just the blues? And so she broke down, you can find our old newsletters on our website as well, but she broke down the difference and talked about how the importance of talking about those feelings regardless of the severity.
Yes, that was a really good one. And I think that's a great point because we just threw a lot of resources at people.
Right.
And you don't have to, like, people don't have to try to remember those. Maybe a good way is to just remind people that there's a newsletter.
Right. There's a newsletter and you can sign up on our website. We have a youth newsletter and we have a community newsletter.
Yeah.
And they're great resources for what's going on around, what BYS is doing.
So they'll get everything that we just talked. Like, they'll
everything.
Get the articles and they'll get the signups and
the
all
podcasts.
That kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay, cool. I think that, that's make sure that people know that that's like a one-stop shop.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we would love for the community to continue to submit questions. Again, this can be done through our Instagram, our Facebook, private messages, email, info@askbys.org. And these questions will always remain anonymous. I cannot stress that enough. So we are a resource for the community, not just for the youth, and we are here for you. And with that, we leave you with the foundation that healthy youth begins with healthy families, and healthy families build healthy communities.